Vygotsky's concept of the social situation of development. The problem he's tackling with this concept is this. At one point you have this little bundle of reflexes, an utterly helpless bundle of living flesh. 15, 20, 25 years later, you have an adult citizen of some definite community. How do you get from a little bundle of flesh, utterly dependent on people around it for physical support, to this adult? How's it done? If you left the baby on the beach, it would die. But not only that, if you left a teenager on their own in the jungle somewhere, he or she would die as well. The passage from newborn to adult requires and is dependent on, is conditioned by the social environment in which the child grows up. Now, the first key to getting Vygotsky's concept is this. It isn't just a continuous, gradual change, and it couldn't be. The transformation from newborn to adult takes place through a series of stages. Now, Vygotsky refers to these as unique, and this is sometimes confusing. What does he mean by unique? Now, I'd put it this way. I've written down for myself a list of the concepts we have of children at different stages in their development. I've got newborn, infant, toddler, preschooler, primary school age kid, teenager, young adult. Now, the thing is, I'm really referring to today's society. You didn't have a concept of teenager in Russia, in which Vygotsky was writing, for instance. But we have a definite concept of each of those type of person. And all the people around an infant will treat that person as an infant. Right? Everyone around a teenager treats a teenager as a teenager. So the transition from newborn to young adult goes through the living out of a finite list of specific concepts which are indigenous to the particular community in which the person acts out this particular role. Now, the best way of conceiving of each of these concepts is it's a kind of predicament. Right? The child at a particular stage of development has certain needs which they're able to in some way, at their level of activity, perceive, but they have only certain means of acquiring them, right, according to their level of development at the time. And these don't match. So consequently, there will be, during the majority of this period of development, such as being a toddler, the development of a specific function or a specific relation to the social environment around them, to the environment which is inevitably a social environment, and that develops and strengthens during the course of this particular phase. So the toddler, when they're suddenly up and walking, they begin to develop their language, which is essential for their survival at that stage in their life. At a certain point, towards the end of that age, that particular phase, they begin to perceive new needs. They begin to see beyond the horizon of their particular predicament, their social situation, and develop new needs. And you go through what Vygotsky calls a period of crisis. And every parent or person dealing with children is familiar with these crises when, in a specific way, the child becomes difficult and unmanageable. Some children go through it very smoothly, but others cause huge ructions. And during this period, the child cannot, within the relations they have with the people around them, fulfill their needs that they have newly come to see. So they actually overthrow the social situation of development. And they reject it. And these critical periods, which mark the end of each social situation of development, is where the child's will and identity goes through a particular qualitative development, and they establish, in interaction with the people around them, a new relationship, new needs, and they're treated differently because the parents suddenly say, oh, look, he's a toddler now. Oh, look, he's a preschool child. I mock, of course, but we recognize when a child has gone through different stages, we start to treat them differently. Right? So the social situation is called a social situation of development because it's the specific predicament which forces the child to develop a particular aspect of their life, their activity, to develop a particular, to develop memory, or to develop their logic, or to develop their language. So each predicament requires them to develop these skills. Now the thing is, every culture will have different concepts of children at different ages. In every different situation, in different classes, and within the same society, people will go through these different stages or phases of their life at different ages. But to get from newborn to adult citizen, you have one way or another to acquire intelligence, emotional maturity, language. You have to acquire these functions. So one way or another, every person goes through these stages. They may go through smoothly, with great ructions, with delay, quickly. And it isn't just up to the child. If parents refuse to accept their child as a teenager and go on treating them like they were a primary school child, something will break. The child will leave home or have their development stunted. It's a relationship between the child and the environment. The environment which responds to the changes in the child's needs begins to introduce them to a new relationship to the world, conceives them with a different concept. When the infant is suddenly now treated like a toddler, when they show the first signs of these changes, then the development happens very smoothly. But it'll happen one way or another, or you end up with a child that never grows up. Okay, so the social situation of development refers to these predicaments, the contradiction between the means a child has to achieve its needs in its conception at whatever level of consciousness it's at of its needs, and the way it transforms itself. New needs comes onto the scene, it transforms the situation, enters a new relationship to reality, and moves on. Okay, now that's Vygotsky's theory of child development. Development doesn't stop when you become an adult, but it doesn't go through these specific stages. We develop as adults in a different way, and the key word for adults is presuppose. Okay, but children generally go through this specific series of phases, social situations of development, characteristic of a given culture. Okay.